So, what if I told you that this is not the first time Mike Pondsmith worked on an anime-based RPG?
Um, I'd be interested to see what it was.
Dragon Ball Z.
Oh,
Well, actually, I don't know. This one might be before that one. I'd have to actually look. But yeah, hey there, everyone, and welcome to a bit of a lore ramblings. And I'm using lore ramblings because, well, I'll be blunt. While this has always been something that I've always wanted to look at eventually, I never really had the opportunity to watch the anime. We're going to look at the Bubblegum Crisis RPG, which hilariously has a lot of cross-playability with Cyberpunk 2077, mainly because it uses the same system, from what I recall.
uh, I'm Imsit, and yeah, we're going to be reviewing Bubblegum Crisis. Adventures in the anime world of berserk boomers and high-tech heroes.
That is
And
the
yes,
term used for the rogue androids that they destroy, yes.
where's my Medicare? I saw this meme on Facebook. Do you like it?
I put all my money in gold and now they're telling me it went away. I don't understand.
Why don't you pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Back in my day, we had grit.
So this is an IP-led RPG, which means that finding a copy is kind of a pain in the butt. I honestly think it's better just to look it up. You can't really get a copy of this except maybe via resellers, essentially secondhand. So,
By the way, to gauge how old this is, that ad that's sideways advertises subtitled and dubbed VHS and Laserdiscs, and the email is a string of numbers.
yep. Also, I believe
Uh,
CompuServe went out of business.
ah,
It might have. This is an old book. And one of the good things about this book, by the way, is that Pondsmith actually made a point. I mean, he wasn't the main writer. There was actually two other writers that did this. But they made a point realizing not everyone would necessarily know the setting. So they actually have a bit of background to start with. The year is 2033. The place is Mega Tokyo, virtually destroyed in the second Great Kanto earthquake in 2025. So look forward to
oh
that, Japan.
no.
Look forward to that, Japan. Japan's capital has risen like a phoenix from its own ashes. Today, Mega Tokyo is the most modern city in the world. It's a center of technology and industry for the entire planet. But it's also a city in crisis. Just as the Kanto Fault has rent the metropolis into two, so has Megatokyo's reconstruction divided its populace into the corporate rich and the displaced poor. Confusion and conflict rage in the streets as crime and overcrowding become explosive problems. But the megalopolis's greatest threat may be from technology itself. Science and industry have literally run amok, driven blindly forward by the world's largest corporation, Genome, which, if you're wondering, is very close to Arasaka in terms of what it can do. It basically has its fingers in most industries, but the thing it's most known for is making synthetic organisms known as boomers. Basically, they're the equivalent of replicants, but a lot more powerful.
I'll just
They,
look at those people. The Chairman Quincy.
oh
He's
yeah,
just
classic villainous anime character. Just look at the classic designs here.
promotes wars to destabilize governments, develops illegal technology, and indulges and encourages the individual greed and ambitions of its executives.
And one of the big
So it
problems is
so it owns a
genome.
hive city.
Oh yeah, that's an arcology. If you've ever wondered where concepts like arcologies have come from, it's not just from Bubblegum Crisis. It's a thing that's been in science fiction and in architecture for a while. It's to the point where there was actually a mega project to build something like this in Japan at one point. At least there was initial efforts to try to build one. It was rejected.
So the Boomers, born of a fusion of mechatronics and biotechnology, cyber droids were hailed as the new servitor race which would liberate mankind. commonly referred to as boomers. These artificial life forms range from simple robots to the most advanced androids, and some are even reported to have their own personalities and children they don't visit.
And here's the thing, they were originally created to develop in outer space, much like replicants. They're used in a lot of society now, and every now and again they go rogue. And when they go rogue, they cause a lot of damage, which is why there is a unit called the AD Police. These guys
Just like
started
now.
as riot suppression units, though. And on top of that, they reference our protagonists from the anime, the Night Sabers. They're a team of vigilantes who, in the anime, essentially, since Genom is Evil Co., they fucked over them. They fucked them over in different ways, and they rally together to essentially try to bust them, or at least limit what they can do.
And our team of intrepid heroes includes an aerobics instructor, an entrepreneur,
That's
a
actually
rock
the
singer,
person whose father created the Boomers, and the guys killed her father, so she's doing it for revenge.
and only one of them is an actually trained police officer.
I mean, just jazzercise and kegels. That'll allow me to fight giant robots.
That'll let you know the rules of Tokyo's police force.
It'll be fine. Also, yeah,
Were
rock singer. That's probably where the rocker boy concept came from.
were they trained by American police?
They might have been. Essentially, the AD police were anti-riot units that basically, when Neo Tokyo was rebuilt, when Mega Tokyo was rebuilt. Remember, poor people have a lot of complaints about the new society. These guys' jobs are to essentially take no prisoners. They've been reconverted to fight robots. Now, as for why these quartets are so good, remember, one of them and their team leader, their father created the technology. She was able to get a lot of blueprints from that to make counter technology for them. Basically, stuff that's good at killing robots. And then we get into episode guides, which I think is
Uh,
kind of goofy.
one point though, I noticed with a lot of these mechs, I mean, they're not like traditional like Gundam mechs. They're kind of more like armored suits, and I get a similarity to Riffs. In fact, apparently Kevin Sabita may have taken some influence from this.
I wouldn't be surprised because the whole concept is, oh yeah, I forgot that their motorcycles can turn into robots. They do that sometimes. They also have
Oh,
a bit of a transformable capability. Basically, their vehicles can turn into powered armor.
so this is just the Headmasters all over again.
A little bit of that, a little bit of Ghost in the Shell, a little bit of Cyberpunk 2077. You can definitely tell how this influenced Cyberpunk. And these are just, like I said, these are episode guides, which
And
are
there's
useful if you have no clue.
a point because I did a little bit of research. The anime itself was a bit hard to get over in the US.
Oh, it was a bitch, dude. Yeah, like it was basically impossible until later on.
So it was like that well-known thing that people had heard about but didn't get to see. So this is actually good to get people up to speed on the show.
I also think that this is a way because, unlike Dragon Ball Z, you're not going to be familiar with this. And on top of this, oh, let's just say you kind of pick it because it looks like an anime and you don't really know the setting. This gives you at least some insight on what you're working with.
It was also an OVA, not a was it shonen manga series? So
It's a more traditional sort of anime where anime traditionally is very short in terms of episodes. The long running stuff is mostly just because shonen wants it to go on forever. Also, yes, I have to agree, Guy. I very much miss the more classic take on anime where they used to actually draw the backgrounds rather than do CGI. And also, the style of design is much. You don't really see it anymore because it costs too much to animate, especially
something
since especially since what they do in anime. Do you want to know what the average animator makes in Japan?
I'm going to say less than the average American teacher.
Okay, try to guess a number. How much do you think they make a month?
26. Oh, I was going to say year. 26 a year.
20. Oh, you
26,000
poor soul. You poor soul. More like 8,000, and I'm highballing it.
a year.
The average earner is usually between 3 to 500 a month. 500 being seen as enlightened.
That's,
You don't do this for the paycheck. You do this for the passion.
is that post-tax or pre-tax?
Probably pre-tax, knowing Japan. Two gummy bears in depression and two hot dogs and a handshake. Guy, you're actually kind of spot on. The only reason it's a lot more survivable is just because the way Japan runs its food business is that you don't really need a lot of yen to ensure that you don't starve. Yeah, it's something you do if it's a passion project. But the story's not over. Do you know I'm still out there with a megalomaniac at the helm, Rogue Boomer still roam the streets, and Mega Tokyo is reeling from techno shock and economic upheaval. The 21st
So how's
century
that
still
different?
needs heroes.
So how's that different from today?
Um, there's a lot more style, and it's a lot more colorful and a lot less miserable.
Uh,
I actually think that in some ways, Bubblegum Crisis is kind of like the big letdown because we're entering this period. We're entering the period of the Great Kanto Quake. Where's my fucking robots, damn it?
Boston Dynamics.
Oh yeah, the White Elf. You like how they still try to sell their big dog units and no one's buying them? I love that they're still trying to sell that thing, and they're
Yeah,
struggling.
it's at least a product that's evolving.
Kinda. I think it's the same model that they just kind of add new programs to.
Yeah.
But as for the credits for this, we're currently a pretty decent way in. Usually, what happens is that this is kind of goes in front of the book. But yeah, the main writers are Ben Wright and David Ackerman Gray. But again, other writing contributions: Mike Pondsmith.
I think a point to add the online research things. I guarantee they had to take it from people who. Bear in mind, this is what year? This was 1996?
Oh yeah, there's 91. That's even more.
No, 91 is when
Yeah, this is
uh,
96.
AD Police was copyrighted.
Yeah, this is
Um,
96. So this is only a few years after, and good fucking luck trying to find Bubblegum Crisis.
but
So
yeah,
what they
they
had to
must
do
have
was
reached.
they had to reach some serious otakus for this. Also, they got advice from the creator of Mechaton, and also a little bit from Shadowrun. This one actually was a very large project.
I guess similarly a passion project
hmm And we're actually about to go right into it with
where they
Welcome
again
to the RPG.
to explain the series, the importer, which anime ego, which I looked up, it redirects to Media OCD, but apparently there's also some crowdfunding projects that the guy does. Um,
I just think it's interesting that so many different company people actually helped these guys make it. I just think that's kind of neat. And it looks
yeah,
like I think they got some of the writers from the show too.
it seems like this was genuinely a passion project RPG. Like they're not making this simply for like a profit or for an expansion to an already existing property. They know this probably wasn't going to sell a lot, but they liked the show and they wanted to make a game out of it.
You say that, but here's one of the weird things about Talsorian games. They did a few other anime inspired ones, I think. The only other one that I can really think of is Dragon Ball Z. I think they also burned a lot of money attempting to make a mecha one. Yeah, remember when RPGs were made for fun? Yeah, it used to be for passion, and it still kind of is to a degree. Since it's such a marginal market, you kind of have to do this because you love it. But yeah, you don't really see something like this too often. Well, I mean, you kind of do. And actually, if you think about it, this kind of really shows you what happens to licensed RPGs. Because once they lose the rights, well, it's done. You can't really print it again.
Same thing happened to Palladium with their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. They
It's a,
finally got around to get the rights back, and I think they're doing a reprint.
it's a miracle they were able to. This is also why, even though I think that, what was it, the Green Ronin did a Song of Ice and Fire's RPG, I think that's the guys who did it. There's a really good one that actually has a fun house management system, but because of how licensing works, it's gone now. So good fucking luck. You usually can find dead projects like that online. Like I mentioned, just look at, like I mentioned in the description, you can just type in Bubblegum Crisis RPG and you can usually find it. And I usually don't recommend that. It's just it's a dead IP. You can't really buy this anymore. But yeah, they explain what Bubblegum Crisis is, which is an 8-parter. Never had a chance to really, watch this.
Yeah. So the system they use for this is the Fusion system with a Z. Combines the Hero system and the Interlock system,
Let's
which
see.
to allow characters to be used to act at a simpler level through primary fusion with a Z.
Also, the dice you're going to need for this are D10s and D6s. So we'll get to see what this one's like since it's a bit different from what I'm thinking. I haven't actually had a chance to really dig into the anime-inspired Telsorian games, so this is a bit new to me.
So we have here, first thing is the life path. So roll D10 to develop personality, your interests, your worldview.
Which is
Back,
something that was borrowed for Cyberpunk.
so this is the Cyberpunk system coming in here.
Also, another thing that they point out, just I was kind of stuck up here a little bit for too long. A big thing you're gonna do, since the way Bubblegum Crisis works, is you're making a whole team, so you're gonna want synergy. Like each member of the team in the anime brought something. I don't know what Jazzercise does, but they brought something. Probably athleticism. But yeah, personality. What do you value most? Who do you value most? Worldview. Actually, I just realized the worldview I think is straight up taken from 2077.
Hmm.
I think like the results are all the same, or at least most of them are, or very similar.
Then we have here the actual stats.
Yep, childhood events, friends and enemies, love and war. Yeah, like this kind of really goes into. This is very much from Cyberpunk.
So your stat numbers go obviously from 0 to 10 plus, and if it's 10 plus, you're basically superhuman. Normal people have the ranges of 1 to 4. 7 is where the real world stops and where fiction begins to take over. And then you can figure out your stats through a point by system, and they provide you the amount of points you need per stat based on your campaign style. So these would be the starting points. And then you buy your stats at a ratio of 1 stat point for 1 level of ability in the stat, which,
Ah, yeah, and since there's 10 stats, basically you multiply it by the stat loadout. So there's 10 stats, and the points per stat you list depends on what style you want. Like if you want crap characters, you start at competent, but if you want to really go goofy, you go cosmic.
and then we have our stats strength.
Strength is pretty
Yeah.
obvious. I love the examples they lift they give you. Like example, a small child, a tank.
at 34, it's Mount Everest.
I love that that's something they actually factored in. That's so good. That's amazingly goofy, and I love it. Your characters almost certainly are never going to reach, say, above like a small car, probably. But just in case. Especially since there are mech suits that can allow you to do some insane bullshit, and some of the things you fight might have that strength. At least hypothetically.
So you have 10 primary and 8 derived stats. Your primaries are intelligence, willpower, personality, technique, ability to manipulate tools, reflexes, which is aiming, throwing, juggling, and dexterity. Dexterity. Our physical stats are constitution, strength, and body type.
Yeah, body's essentially like a combination of HP and soak, if I'm about right. Yeah, yeah, it looks like I'm about right
Yeah.
there.
And then movement. And then we creating a character, you spend stat points. The maximum amount you can put into any one stat is 10 for humans. If you're creating a boomer or a superhuman, you may put as many points into a single stat as you want.
So you could make a really insanely lopsided character if you wanted to. Also, apparently aliens are a thing because they mention a feline race of aliens.
Of course, this is anime we're talking about.
I'm not, yeah, I'm not bothered by that. I, I don't really know the setting, so I guess we run into aliens too in Bubblegum Crisis.
Then we've got your hits, which is how much killing damage you can take before you are dying. So I think that's your soak.
Yeah, it's your body times 5. That essentially,
Uh,
yeah, whenever a body is a stat, that just determines how much punishment you can take before dropping.
run, leap, and swim. This is the first time I've seen swim as a derived statistic.
I kind of like that. I know that
Yeah.
sounds a bit annoying to calculate, but it's just, yeah, humans are not as good of a swimmer as they usually are like a runner.
Well, what do you expect? We're a land-based species.
Also, luck is that's a weird one. I kind of think it's a bit weird that it's intelligence and reflex. That's kind of
You
weird.
you may take points from this derived stat, use them in other places to add important die rolls, subtract damage. When you've used up all these points, they're gone till the next game session. You've run out of luck.
Which could lead to a really stupid build where you make a really shitty boomer whose stats are all kind of very average except for the ones that give you luck. So you can just make them the luckiest asshole.
This transforms into a giant 8 ball. We got physical defense, recovery, resistance, and stun.
Which is the same as hits. Basically, sometimes they won't kill you, sometimes they'll want you alive.
Yeah, I think that's the point for having this.
Well, remember,
Then
they
there's
also did consult with Shadowrun guys, so this is kind of like the love child between Shadowrun and Cyberpunk.
hmm,
So
and let's
so having two different types of damage like that kind of makes sense.
and then yeah, they give us the campaign options, campaign
Oh no, there's
style.
also optional derived stats like energy defense and humanity.
Did they consult with White Wolf as well?
I'm thinking it's based on a combination of essence and remember that humanity is a stat in Cyberpunk 2020.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you're dealing with Cyberpunk, I think it's an okay concept. And when it's reduced to 0, the character becomes technically insane, which is the best type of insane. There's also the rule of X, where they essentially, it's kind of like the rule of cool or how far you can go.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good way to set a limit, and they actually do provide for the different campaign styles.
Wait, fuck humanity rules? Those were shit. I actually kind of like humanity as a concept, though.
Like, I think it's a way to stop you from going just completely overpowered.
Um, Traditionally, at least in cyberpunk settings, it's to represent that you're essentially sacrificing what makes you you. And mechanically, it's usually used to stop min-maxers. or at least limit how much they can do. Also, they mentioned campaign points, which, from what I understand, is similar to improvement points. This is actually
Yeah.
really interesting to kind of look at because
So
it kind of borrows from two different settings to make this one. I can see why it's called Fusion.
so early on they talked about, what the points per stat are. There's a number of stat points to give beginning characters, and I think with the other points, this is what you can add.
Yeah, campaign points are not normally interchangeable with stat points, which are used only to buy stats. However, in certain
Oh,
circumstances, you can do this. 5 campaign points for 1 stat points. It depends, though. Basically, the referee has to allow that. Campaign points, from what I understand, are more for skills or for yen.
let's see the skills then. Yeah, it says, yeah. Like for each campaign point for every level of skill. And what we have here: animal handling, auto fire weapons, archery, artisan, building, business, computers, expert, which is just being an expert in a hobby.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. Uh, languages.
Is it bad I've
Um,
already come up with a concept for an episodic villain whose big dump stats are int and expert in terms of skills? The concept is a mad bomber whose whole running shtick is very obscure hobbies, like horticulture. It's the Riddler, but shit, and he's a robot.
I like this with languages. It specifies as language group or dialect, computer code, sign language, lip reading, that you must specify primary chart in the family. All others in the group are at half of primary.
That's actually kind of neat. I
Actually,
kind of
yeah, it
like
is.
that.
I actually did like for
Although
the
with the rise
computer,
of new computer languages, though, there's a lot more than these.
basic, C++, Fortran, and COBOL.
Those you can tell this was made in the 90s because where's my C sharp? Where's my JavaScript? Where's my Ruby? Oh god, where are the other ones? There's like a fuckload of them.
Uh, let's see. Melee weapons, mech pilot, local knowledge. Oh, there's more.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Photography. Shooting professional looking pictures and films somehow is not the same thing as a hobby, though.
Well, because of remember this is based on Cyberpunk, and one of the stats you can, one of the character types you can play as a journo. You would pick photography as a skill if you're playing like a hard-boiled detective or journalist.
Oh, yeah.
I like how
Uh,
social is one, and it's just how to act like a person.
the setting, which is anything with proper etiquette in a 16th century
Wardrobe and
shogunate.
style is a skill. Do you know
Oh,
how to dress yourself?
and writing.
Are you literate? Are you
Now that'd be
capable of
reading,
reading?
which I gotta check. Is reading a skill? No, it is
It
not.
should be. I really think it should be. I think that'd be really funny if you could make an illiterate character.
Although I see research and scientists. So research is using libraries, databases, and records, while scientists is knowledge of lab techniques, how to write scientific papers, test hypotheses. I want someone to have a huge stat in scientist, but none in research. They can make their scientific paper. They have no idea where to find it.
No, no, and their int's like a 1. Hulk nuclear physicist in spare time. Social and wardrobe and style are my dumb skills in real life. I mean, I don't have a lot of skill points in wardrobe and style either.
And let's see. Then there's obviously ways to experience. You get awards for role playing.
Yep, a combination of Cyberpunk and Shadowrun. It's really interesting to see how this borrows, at least in terms of how to improve.
Oh
I'd have to
boy,
see
no.
what the
We
system works. I'd have to see
we
how
get
that works.
talents. We have talents.
Oh boy.
Ambidextery.
For a
Uh,
minute there, I thought I was going to see belch speech, where you could where you could burp your language.
lightning calculator. Uh, martial artist. So somehow martial artist is a talent, but not, you know, no knowing like melee skills.
That's kind of
They're hand to
fucking
hand.
weird.
Yeah, hand to
Hand to
hand
hand.
allows. So hand to hand allows you to know basic street fighting. Adding the martial artist talent allows you to use martial arts actions.
That's kind of goofy.
So again, you can be someone who is training in hand to hand or into martial arts, have no idea how to throw a punch.
That's I kind of think that's stupid.
Oh wait, here's a reading based talent. Speed reader. 200-page book in 10 minutes. The fuck?
It is possible if you know how to speed read.
Yeah, if
It
you
is
remember anything.
possible. No, it is possible. Basically, to not only read through the book but to also remember it. You can actually train to maybe not to that degree, but you can improve your reading speed while still retaining comprehension.
The special skill group talents. You can be beautiful or handsome. High pain threshold.
I kind of like the concept of neck where you actually are not trained at all in say firearms. Like you've never held a gun, but you dumped all of your talents into it, so you just instantly pick it up and just know how to blast.
Listen, I played a lot of video games. I should know how this works.
I just kind of love the concept of that because it's such a shit post.
Oh, then we have perks. Useful items, privileges,
Also,
or
it does
contact.
hint at something. When you're wounded, apparently you also take stun. I think that's how
Oh,
that
for for
works.
th- for high pain threshold.
Yeah, so I think what happens is stun also factors in with hits.
I'm just now imagining you're one of those guys that gets tasered and just nothing happens.
Oh,
And let's
like the guy he gets tased. You're gonna regret that, bitch.
yes. Perks. Membership. You can call upon the resources of an organization or group, but you have responsibilities. A membership of 1 at Genom would make you a janitor, but at 10 you're Quincy's right-hand man. License. Legally sanctioned right to do things that would normally be considered illegal, such as license to kill, to collect taxes, and hunt boomers.
Yeah, you need licenses, which is a nod to Shadowrun. Shadowrun has a lot of licenses as well.
I also like this. A CIA or Secret Service license is 8, but a federal marshal, who would probably have less authority than a CIA agent, is a 9.
I also love the unconditional license to kill. I love that you could get a license to just randomly go out and start blasting. I binged Marine Doom all weekend, so I'm basically an expert with guns. You could. You could if you pick enough knacks. And I think that's hilarious.
Now we have complications.
Well, they also, some
Previously,
other ones that are fun include how they describe how wealth works, also money in the setting.
yeah.
So, since it's in Japan, it uses the yen, and because of that, they highlight how yen works. At the time period, 10,000 yen comes out as about $10.
Oh, so inflation is even worse than now.
I mean, you have seen how the yen is collapsing, right? It actually is going through another collapse right now.
1 yen is 0.0066 of a US dollar, so let's see about 10,000. It's only 66 dollars.
By the way, it used to be that a yen was worth about a penny. So that should tell you how bad Japan's doing.
Also, I realize this in the perks with membership. So you have large corporations, you have Neo-NATO, or the UN, and the USSD, or Genom.
Oh, in term, what type of complications are you looking at?
Not just the perks, but
Oh yeah, the perks.
just
Yeah.
pointing out there that apparently by 2025 we have a Neo-NATO. Or no, 2033.
I
But with the
mean, I could see it.
yeah,
It's kind of funny that you can kind of see that in the current year of 2025. You know what this means, though? Keep an eye out for the second Great Kanto earthquake, just in case.
this also means the boomers will still be around.
I'm just now envisioning Tesla's attempt to make a boomer. Would the arms just fall off, or would it just spontaneously catch fire while screaming?
Both.
Just like I'm envisioning this like 10-foot tall, like roided out metal monster thing. It begins screaming. No one knows why. One of its arms falls off, and then its chest catches on fire before exploding.
I love it. Buy a boomer today.
I could just envision so many people buying it just because of the brand.
It's like a Tesla.
You thought the yen was divided by the thousands. A good rule of thumb for the yen is tack it to about the penny, although now it's more like tack it to a half penny. It's the same as the Chinese yuan. The Chinese yuan, kind of peg that to around the dime. That's usually where a yuan is at.
So these complications here, basically, there are things that will impact your life, and you can determine how intense it will be, how important it is, how much it will occur. Now let's look at the complications. Psychological. So things like absent-minded, delusions, bipolar disorder.
That's fun.
Oh yeah, and if you're at this is
By
really
the way, the
show
take on bipolar, it is both correct and incorrect.
at 20, which is extreme intensity, you're just suicidal.
Uh, should I also mention that bipolar disorder often has elements of schizophrenia thrown in?
Well, that's for delusions.
No, no, you don't understand. When you're in a manic high, let me tell you, you can come up with some very interesting delusions. Bipolar is fucking scary when unmedicated.
Let's see, paranoia.
I like that masochist is.
Yeah,
That's not masochist, that's self loathing.
yeah. At 5, you seek verbal abuse. That
That's not hating yourself. That's called getting off.
combine. I want to combine that with frequency and importance. You need somebody to call you an asshole in combat.
I'm just envisioning. No, no, no. I have the best idea. Okay. Okay. Here's my horrible ideas because there's also personality traits.
Oh no.
So here's my great concept. Combine berserker with masochist, where you have rage spikes as well.
How are you not dead by the time you're like 15?
I don't know. Phobia, paranoia, split personality. You're two people in one. The referee controls this personality. It has the stat sheet for it.
Hmm.
That actually
Personality
sounds
trait.
fun. A split
Yeah,
personality trait's always fun.
you got basic like personality traits, physiological limitations, dyslexia.
Oh, by the way, before we get into the physicals, some other ones include obsessions. That's another one. Shy. And last but not least, you could just be unlucky.
What if you have a high luck stat?
I would probably rule it that you're gonna get some very unlikely scenarios, and it's either going to go very well or very poorly, or you go very monkey paws with it.
Let's see the psychological limitations. Oh no.
But yeah, physiological, reduced
Yeah.
mobility, reduced sight,
Oh, no, with
uncontrollable
reduced
change.
mobility, if you're at 20, non-existent. You're a total paraplegic, unable to move below the waist.
Yep.
You could just be
Reduced hearing,
completely
epilepsy.
blind. You can't read.
Well, you see, I am an AD police officer with both dyslexia and epilepsy. I'm kind of sad there's no narcolepsy there, just to make it so that you legally cannot be allowed behind the wheel.
No, there is uncontrollable change. You are prone to uncontrollable changes.
Okay, so add dyslexia, epilepsy, uncontrollable change, and play the getaway driver. Do you know how many car accidents you're gonna be behind?
Yeah. Social complications, public figure,
Yeah,
and
masochism is done horribly wrong. What that is
I
self-loathing.
got it. Our AD cop is a masochistic berserker who is blind, deaf, and can't and
Can't
has
fucking read.
no and is not just paraplegic, a quadriplegic, but is so well known as a man who gets shit done.
No, I'm envisioning they also have no idea how to use firearms. They've wasted all of their campaign points on knacks with firearms so that you hotwire their brain into a mech suit. They just instantly know how to shoot it because they envision it like a video game.
Oh no, responsibilities. You could tell what they really are thinking about when they have a baby in there.
Well, yeah, but before that, social complications.
A public figure, oppressed. You're a member of an oppressed or otherwise downtrodden group.
Oh, hey,
He's
look.
if this is Japan, so he's Ainu.
Oh, I would have gone with Korean.
Oh no, that's outsider.
You could also, if you want to go with like a weird retro future Japan, Brakumen.
Ah,
You are shunned because you are a butcher. You handle the dead, or like a funerary technician. I also like how you. Okay, here is the other one. You could get public figure. So just imagine being like this shitty online influencer that's fighting robots, and you accidentally say something that gets you canceled on Neo Twitter.
yeah. Um, you have enemies. So what their
Which, if you're
capabilities are.
wondering, that is something you can pick in Shadowrun, and outside of the core book, they usually very quickly will give you ways to take as a flaw having enemies. Picking this, you're really stupid if you don't cross counter this, because at some point you will get fucked up.
Let's see, responsibilities. You've got sense of duty, code of honor.
Family, obviously.
Yep, and then compulsive behaviors,
Hell yeah.
addiction, dependence. So what was Arcot is also addicted to hardcore meth.
Beth, but also they have maximum fucking
No, wait,
lecherous.
no, it's very rare. It is space rock meth.
No. On top of that, lecherous, so they're the anime pervert man who gets destroyed.
Oh no, intolerance. You're bigoted and intolerant of those who are very different from you. When you encounter them, you are either syllable distant, rude or verbally abusive, violently abusive even at risk of life and limb. So
Okay.
our paraplegic cop is also a hardcore Nazi who is honor bound to murder any Jew he
Oh
sees.
no, I was going to go with Japanese hyper nationalist that hates Koreans, but because he's masochistic, he hates himself because he himself is Korean. I think I just came up with the worst triple combo of oppressed, where you're your own ethnicity you loathe, and then stack on their take on masochism. But yeah, lecherous,
oh
you
no wait
will risk life and limb for the pussy
yeah.
or for the
and then he
dick.
and then he's got enemies. The I guess the Korean mafia for gambling debts.
No, actually, his enemy is the Neo NATO because he may have committed a war crime in Neo Osaka.
Well, no. I'm saying it is Koreans because here's the thing: if he wins, he's taking money away from those dirty Koreans. If he loses, a dirty Korean is losing money because he's a stupid gambler.
Take a pressed at max rank so you can be catch a Freeman. Oh yeah, because you're enslaved. You're treated as
Oh
property.
no! Oh oh, Japan has slavery now.
It's been re-legalized. Looks like the meat market's back on the menu, lads. I this book is making me grin.
This is very silly.
Here's some character templates that you can use.
We have the AD officer, the hacker. Computers are everywhere in 2033. So is the net.
Oh
You can
boy.
access almost any information, thereby become rich and or powerful if you know what you're doing. You have to have a sweet computer system, be skilled at computer codes, and the fine art of social engineering. Oh,
Online
actually,
anarchist.
what I do like here are the equipment. You have a pocket mini computer. Surprisingly accurate.
Well, I mean, it was made in '91. The concept of cellular phones has been a thing at least at this point, and laptops have also been invented by now.
Yeah, but the idea of still
It is
correctly, what we
nice.
have now is a pocket mini computer.
Yeah, legitimately the equivalent of a smartphone. I kind of think that's really neat. Most cyberpunk settings never got this adventurous, and this is to its benefit, I think.
Street operative. You're essentially a gangbanger, so you have low lifestyle, no wealth.
This is the most Westerner writing Japan in the '90s book ever. I could see it. Oh yeah, that is the thing. This was made in the mid '90s, so yeah, a concept like a PDA was something they'd be familiar
Oh
with.
yeah.
Entertainer, aka Rocker Boy.
I just like the agent because it has the concept of boomer conspiracies.
Also, you can play the sleazy corporate guy.
And yet the boomer character. As a creative character, your servants are tools, but some boomers have become self-aware, breaking free of their programming to pursue their own goals of harvesting all the wealth in the country and then not giving it to the next generation. You might seek revenge on the family that you've abandoned. You might lead a campaign of terrorism because you got into some obscure political ideology, or pursue a normal life, which might be tricky for an artificial life form.
And now we get into how fusion works as a system.
You have a timetable, so each phase is 3 seconds, and so 20 phases takes about a minute. Each phase, each player gets to do something during the phase. Either determine it via initiative with two options.
Highest
Um,
reflex always acts first.
yeah, and that's better for a group. And for character versus character melees, at the beginning of each phase, each player rolls 3 dice and adds that to their reflex stat. Character with the highest total acts first for the phase.
I personally think I prefer where there's a bit of variability because even the best reflexes sometimes can, you know, be surprised.
Yeah. And because it's only 3 seconds, because normally it feels like an action, or like a phase is like 5 seconds or so. So you only have one thing you can do: attack, move, dodge, or a non-combat action.
Okay, that's kind of neat. It does
Then they give
also
out.
restrict how much strategery you can do per phase, which I think is a good thing.
Then we get our movement characteristics.
Which kind of gives you visual perspective. Distance working, movement rules.
And oh, here's how we do stats. So stat plus skill plus die roll versus target number plus a die roll.
Okay.
I don't like that.
So you take your okay, so it is your stat and skill in it, plus your selected die roll.
And you can choose to either do 3d6 or a 10-sided die for the task resolution. The referee decides at the start of the campaign which system will be used.
That's interesting.
I, because I think with D10, it's probably more for like long form. 3d6, it's
No, the
uh,
3d6 I would argue is slightly more generous than a d10. But the
well, they do
problem
say
is
here,
you'd have to
yeah,
balance it by increasing the task number.
they'll say to, and that's actually helps remedy the fact that the target number needs a die roll as well. Is that to speed up play, you just substitute 3d6 with a 10 and a d10 with a 5.
Oh, you're supposed to roll the difficulty?
So well, it's a target number plus a die roll. So yeah, see, I don't like that. Should
If
just
you
be
have to it should just be a flat number. What the fuck?
they also say you could just ignore the die roll. I guess they're doing this to maybe have some variability.
I think it's
Maybe
for
it's also for like when you're doing combat.
well, no, remember this is the 90s. Specialized dice you can get at this point, but what are the more common dice that you would have? Six-sided. Therefore, this was probably intended to originally use D10s. What the 3d6 does is it allows you to use the dice that you would always have.
Hmm. And then let's see, you got your modifiers as well here.
So eliminating the die roll it's made along with the target number. Oh, okay. So instead of that, you just add the number. Okay.
Oh, I see. With opposed
Yeah,
yeah.
like let's say you had your skill, like let's say your stats like a 7, you have a 5 in the skill, that's 12, and then say you're using D10, you'd get a 17 every time. And then you'd compare to the number that you'd have to deal with. Okay.
Okay, I can buy
That,
that.
that's that's interesting. I don't necessarily are the rules incredibly jank? I don't think they're that jank. It's weird, but I'm getting my head around it.
Yeah.
If the referee doesn't have the universal target number table ready, there's an easy way to get the right target number. A really easy task is a -4 or -3. An easy task, what? When attempting to do a task involving non-living objects or using an ability, it's given to you by the referee based on how difficult he thinks the task is. Okay. Why is challenged a target number of 0 when it, like, shouldn't?
Because you'll always pass.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh, okay. Oh, challenged as in, okay. It's weird because when I think of that, I think of like every day. I don't know, challenge. Okay. I also like how there's the different degrees of cosmic.
Yeah. Competently cosmic.
Competently cosmic. Okay, that was messing with my head a little bit, but okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And then let's see, with skills, critical success is when you're rolling a d10, you get a natural 10, and you roll another d10 and add that to your result. If you're rolling 3d6, it's an 18. Roll 2 additional d6s. Critical failures on a 1, and then that's for the d10, and then on a 3d6, it's for all ones, and you subtract your results. Oh no, you then add a dice and then subtract that result.
It is not exploding, by the way.
It's not
So,
exploding, but I like the idea of when you is that now you have to roll again and subtract that bonus.
okay. Also, it shows the kind of the benefit of rolling a 3d6 because it's somewhat harder to get 3 1s in a row.
Yeah. And then actions they give. attacks, blocks. Oh, I like the rock, paper, scissors rule of blocking. Wood damages flesh, metal damages wood, and energy damages metal. So if you're going wood against energy, it's not going to work.
Okay. That's a little
Let's see.
that's a little janky, but I
I would just, yeah,
I
I
think
would have
it's
just
neat.
done like a damage reduction system.
I think it's neat. Does it actually explain how
Certain defenses can be used to physically block certain kinds of attacks. Against other attacks, those defenses are worse than useless. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna block a robot fist with your flesh, it's not gonna end well.
yeah, this I now that I'm thinking about it, this part I don't like. It's what?
I can get it,
Well, no, think
but I
about it like this. A fucking laser can ignite wood because it excites
yes.
the molecules in the wood. So you're holding
Well,
onto
this is
it and
this
now it's
is
set
this
on
is
fire.
A plus B equals C, like uh A B plus C equals A sort of thing. So energy can damage metal, which can then damage wood, which can then damage flesh. Metal can damage wood, which can then damage flesh,
Okay.
and wood can damage flesh.
Okay. Yeah, that was boggling my head a bit. That's weird. It's a bit weird.
And let's see.
So it's more like mega damage. Got it.
Yeah, I guess so.
In the sense that like have fun trying to block a fucking laser with your kung fu action.
We got martial strike, martial throw. You could do a haymaker.
You
Let's
can
see if
also
they give
do
it.
the equivalent of a half move, which allows you to do another action, which I think kind of cheats though you can only do one thing system.
Well, you're moving only. You're doing a half move, so you've got like an extra 0.5 seconds to do something.
Fair enough.
And then melee to hand, aim shots, modifiers.
Yeah, they have a bunch of stuff like this, and honestly,
Yeah,
this is
so
not as clunky as
not
later
not as
Shadow runs.
not as clunky, and I would say very crunchy.
It's crunchy, but it's not as. Let me tell you, Shadowrun 5th Edition really sucks at explaining things. This is kind of pleasant.
This is yeah, making the attack for ranged combat. Um, area
But
of
yeah,
effect
the tier
attack.
system they cooked up with the rock, paper, scissors was really dumb. I have to agree with you on that one, Squirrel Killer.
Yeah. Oh, here with the weapons, we've got different kinds of weapons. Light pistols a 22. A medium pistol's a 9mm. Heavy's a 357 and a 10mm.
Oh, he's skipping
And
past through into armor or something?
special ranged attacks. Because it feels like with the combat, it's the same as the skill test, but now we get to see the damages and
Alright, fair
modifiers to
enough.
hit. Um, we got shotguns in the 20 gauge, 12 and 10,
The
and a
DC
mag
equals, if they fail it, they just die? Is that what they're going with here?
with damage.
It says kills, which
Well, it says, yeah,
that's a little okay.
well, we'll go to damage and see what that does. But have you ever seen a 4.58 round?
I mean, it's pretty heavy.
That's the first time I've seen that. Um, recoilless rifle at 60mm.
Ah, here we go. Damage classes. In Fusion, all damage is measured in six-sided dice.
Hold on, wait, before we go up, modern melee weapons. You have daggers, combat knives, short swords, katanas, chainsaws, and a big honking sword.
Where?
At the different weapon damage table,
God.
page 44.
Oh, it's on the same page.
It's just calling it a big honking sword.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't looking at melee weapons. Sorry about that.
Mhm. So with damage, all damage is measured in six-sided dice, representing a damage class. So damage class 1 means a 1d6. Each point you see is a one-sided die, um, which tells you so you get
Oh,
variable
God.
damage. I don't like because look back up to the universal weapon damage table.
Yeah, a
This
light pistol at minimum, you roll 3d6 damage.
tank cannon is 17, which means you got to be rolling 17 six-sided dice and add those up,
Yep.
which potentially you could get a tank cannon hit and it will do less damage.
Then a handgun.
Yes,
I kind of love that because it's such a shit post.
I'm wondering then if there's any.
You get shot with a 120 millimeter tank cannon, and yet your buddy gets more fucked up from a 9 millimeter. I think that's hilarious to me.
So you do 14 points of damage. All things have hits. 1 point of damage from a weapon or attack will remove one hit. Living things have stun points. Measure how much damage they can take before they pass out from pain and shock.
Well, they also, again, remember there's things like defenses that you can do too, which,
Yeah.
and then there's like an equivalent to soak, like armor, from what I understand.
And then inanimate objects have structural damage points. So you
That would
stun damage
include
is always.
boomers.
So you'll take stun damage first, and then you'll take killing damage. Killing damage will drop your hits.
Ah, that's why they
Important tip.
specify
Yeah.
kills.
Yeah. Imp-
When it depicts K, that's just like so. For example, the auto cannon,
it does automatically
it
one kill damage.
yeah,
So even if you're hit by, okay, that balances some stuff out.
it still leads
Um,
to the comedy though of you taking minimum damage from the fucking tank cannon.
uh, important tip though, when it comes to damage, avoid dying. It really puts a crimp in your role playing. Now you could get stunned, knocked out. If you're dead, um, you're if you go 0 hits, you're dying.
By the way,
You
if
lose
you
one
fill
when you
completely
lose.
on stun, that turns into
Yeah,
kill.
yeah. When you for every 5 point, since killing damage causes, you'll take 1 point of stun for every uh one hit you lose until you run out of stun points. Um,
Don't
Sometimes a
forget your
stunning blow
physical
is,
defense, by the way.
yeah, powerful enough that equal to 1 point of killing damage for every 5 you take. And then you permanently die when you lose 2 times your body stat after you uh, reach 0 hits.
Which, yeah, that's the number of hits you have.
Oh, and
Also, whenever your hits have been reduced enough, you can become impaired. Your stats are reduced by 1 point. At 1/4 of total, they will be reduced by 2. So at half of your total hits, okay, so when you're below half, you lose 1 overall everywhere. And if you're at a quarter, it's reduced by 2.
I like Guy's comment here of honestly, guns in every game should lower the dice you roll for a flat damage bonus. I like that.
Also, how death works, when you hit 0, you're dying. If you have a stun above 0, you can choke out a dying speech, though you can do nothing else. You lose 1 hit and shock and blood loss for phase. When you lose up to 2 times your body, you are dead. Which gives me the implication that you might be able to stabilize them, possibly. Might being the key word.
Yeah, possibly. And a mech game can't be complete without its random hit locations.
Yep. because you're in a mech, and also there are boomer models that legitimately are the size of mechs.
Well, no, this isn't for a mech. This is just in general.
Oh,
But
oh, that's fun.
it's still a random hit location, which if you do it, you do get hit modifiers.
Well, here's the thing. Oh no, this is something you have to this is an optional role, just to let you know. This is not something you have to do. This is something you can choose to do.
And we get our a knockback. We get defense and armor. So you could stack up on as much armor as you want, uh, because armor will stop damage.
I think I know what I might do. Like if I had to do a universal weapon damage table, I think what might have helped is you do have you do have the damage class dice, but you should also just straight up do certain amounts of flat depending on how nasty what you're hitting them with is. Like let's say you get shot in the face with a fucking railgun, right? I would probably say you just straight up take this amount of damage, no saves, and then the damage, then the damage chance dice.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would have done.
Let's see what else we have. Environment affects your recovery.
Yeah,
The
this is
damage
very
from
crunchy and it
falling.
gets to the point, which I kind of like.
Oh, I like this falling damage chart, which your speed, falling distance, and how much you weigh or how much the weight of the object is. You're plus 100 tons, and your speed is at least up to 5. Your falling distance is 10. That's 11 kill damage.
Yeah.
With each addition, 1k equals 14 DC. Each additional kill adds 1 DC.
Oh, 1K equals 14 dice.
That is 24 dice you're going to be rolling.
Let's see, 1K equals 14 DC. Each additional kill adds 1.
So if you are already at 1k or 1 kill, you're going to be rolling 14 dice. As it shows here, if your 5 speed is up to 5 and you're less than 50 pounds, you're just going to roll 1 dice.
So wait, if you're falling up to 800, you roll 14 dice?
Yes.
Wait, that changes things because remember, go back up
Well,
to
no,
the
because it says if it goes 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and then we'll go 15, 6. Yeah, it changes up the formula, but
Wait, does
when you're
that
at the
mean that the universal weapons, like when you get hit with the K, does that mean you roll more dice?
no, that is only if you're falling. This chart's only for falling damage.
How much fucking dice? Oh man,
Yeah, it's a lot of d6s you're rolling.
that's kind of goofy. And because it uses the kill, that each additional kill adds 1. Oh, I get it for the conversion. Oh, okay. Okay, that was fucking with my head.
Oh, get ready to get your head fucked even more.
Yeah,
Vehicle
this
maneuvers.
section here for falling, this is clunky as shit. If I was
Vehicle.
Mike or if I was the writer, you know what I would have done? I probably would have just kept going by keeping 14 at the 1K, and then each additional adds 1 more because it's not like goes up to 14 and then it would go up to 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Like that's kind of dumb. I'm going to be honest, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah. But with the vehicle maneuvers.
Oh boy.
So this is done by combining your reflex and piloting.
That
And the
sounds fair.
difficulty for making a U-turn is 16.
U-turns
However,
can be pretty difficult,
yeah,
especially in a stressful
yeah.
situation.
However, just 4 down is regaining control of a plane.
Regaining control of a plane is easier to do than a fucking U-turn.
It's the same difficulty as doing an emergency stop.
It's as difficult to do as a tight turn. Are you smoking
I
crack,
got a
Mike?
whole, holding down brake and bracing for impact is about the same thing as controlling a
Are
fighter
what,
plane.
Mike? What? Oh, please. I'm gonna look back up on the skills. I hope piloting doesn't include all vehicles, or I'm gonna get mad. I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be slightly mad. No, you have to specialize. There's piloting, and then there's pilot specialized. So
Which
you're
is fair, but
okay.
I like the
Okay,
idea of
that's fucking dumb.
I just like the idea of it. It's funny.
Let's be real. In 40k, you should just write you die as the bolter damage, while melee would have an actual damage roll system. That's just boring to play. Yeah, that's why I'm okay with you somehow, because also just sometimes luck is in your favor. Let's say I'm about to get shot with a 120 millimeter gun, right? It is entirely possible that just due to the situation I'm in, I could survive it. It's the same as fall damage. Like, there's an example of a ball pit gunner that survived a 40,000 fall because of snow. Oh, they also have rules for dogfighting.
Well, that's cute.
Hey, it ties into flying circus. You can you
Mech
can you can
and
combine
and
the two.
and then we have mecha combat, missiles to outrun a missile. If it is a dumb missile, it's 8. If it's a smart missile, it's 12. If it's brilliant, it's 16, and a genius missile is 20.
Piloting plus reflex plus die roll for at least 1d6 divided by 2 consecutive rounds.
Special case for mecha. Almost every kind of mecha has a weak spot somewhere, and in combat it's possible for you to hit it. If you beat your target number by more than 10, your attack ignores the PD of the armor. You just go through power armor damage. That's impressive.
Oh no, people
And that,
don't sometimes forget the punching power. Remember, Shadowrun nerfed the Troll Archer build specifically because of how much damage a Troll Archer can do. But yeah, mecha weapons are horrific. It's measured in a skill. Hey, this has mega damage.
it does. Kills and soft target. This 100 PD armor would be equivalent to 2 kills, and 200 of SPD would be equivalent to 4 kills. So they've got that going for it, and I feel like that might be a bit of an inspiration. Or because I think Rifts actually came out before this.
Rifts
Rifts may
came
have
out before
inspired
this,
this.
so I think this is an attempt to make a mega dam. Because let's be fair, it is a very different situation to get hit with a rail cannon than it would be to get hit with a fucking automatic if you're wearing mecha armor.
Yeah. The do's and don'ts of BGC Mecha.
Oh, here's another thing. Big guns are designed to damage large targets, particularly to do damage through blast, fragmentations, and so on, which works well against hard targets but not soft targets. Thus, a large hard target will be fully affected by a kill level weapon, but a man will not. Sure, a person who's hit by a tank gun is dead meat, but they're simply within the blast radius, they might survive. To represent this, soft targets are damaged differently by kills than hard targets. Soft targets do not take the full force of area effect attacks. If a person is taking DC 14 or less, it's all straightforward. However, each additional kill of damage a person takes adds only 1d6 to the base 14d6.
Mm.
For example, a tank shoots a 4-kill shell at a man wearing SP 45 armor. This attack will do 14d6 for being a kill or more, plus 4d6 for its 4 kills from overpressure. The armored fellow winds up facing DC 17. The average is 60 points of damage, which is 15 points of damage after armor. He might survive. But what if a human's in a kill level suit of armor that was held by a kill weapon? Simple. Subtract the kills of armor from the kills of damage, then convert any remaining kills of damage as above. If a man wearing 1.8k of armor is hit by a 3k gun, he takes 1.k.
Yeah, this is
I hate that. What?
Too much math.
No, it's not that it's too much math. It's just what the fuck?
You're throwing in decimals, rounding.
The decimals I fucking hate. Don't do that. Never use
No.
decimals. No. 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 Okay, so that's what the Ks mean. The Ks represent hitting hard targets. Okay. Oh,
Also,
I just
I do have
realized
to.
the autocannon 14 equals 1K. Okay. Yeah, that makes
Also,
okay.
I do have to give a little pet peeve, and this may be because of Warhammer. Whenever I see a number besides a K, I think thousands,
Yeah, no, that's why I hate that.
because
That's why I
that
really
is the
hate that.
number for 1,000, or
It
not
is.
number, the letter.
No, that's the reason I don't like it.
Let's see. The special weaponry
The man
for
inside takes 0.2K or 8.2.8 d6, which is 2.2 d6 plus 5. Why?
Stop it. Stop it.
Don't. Never do decimals like this. What the fuck? Oh, I hate that. I fucking hate that.
But then they give
Wait,
us the
okay,
stat.
here's my question. How does a point one work on a kill? Would it not even be damage? Or would it just be plink? Would it literally just be 1? Because technically, it's not even 1/6 of a die yet. It works for
Hmm.
a d10, but the examples they're listing are 3d6, which doesn't divide correctly. This is stupid. This is really fucking stupid. Yeah, no. K, I see 1,000. Like even in the U.S., we use K. We do use K for kilo for 1,000 sometimes.
It comes from the Latin. Am I
Just
right in
always
that?
round down. I fucking hate that. Don't do decimals. I despise that. God, I fucking hate that. All right.
I mean, this is the problem when you're running into that system of you have two different kinds of armor.
I I can't stop screaming. So
Well,
what does that mean if you like are getting shot with a handgun? Do you just no sell the damage?
I guess so.
He
Time
doesn't
to get into your
explain
mech
that.
suit.
Are odd decimals invalid with the standard design? If you use D10s, it actually makes sense because like point 0.1 kill just means you add 1 damage. And then it goes all the way to the 1d10, but they use d6s, which is the problem. Also, comic book rule, superpowers versus hard targets. Damage done by high-powered or superpowered attacks converts the same ways as kills. A DC 20 punch is 7d6 greater than D13 starting point for kill level weapon. So this superhero can do 7 kills in a single punch. Oh, I fucking hate this, dude. This is like
Let's move on to the mechs.
this is really McClunky.
And let's move on to the mechs here.
Like I get it, but Jesus Christ, why would you do this? Make K just worse 10 flat and the decimal's fine. Yeah, if it was 10 flat, that'd be fine. That would actually be fine, especially since this is supposed to be a modern setting. I would be okay with a machine gun being the equivalent of 1K. Like a 50 caliber machine gun equaling 1 kill, that'd be fine.
Or like well, it wouldn't work with this, but
Oh no,
like
Vulcan
with
gun would be 1.2K.
or like with Call of Cthulhu, where there are some weapons that on a die roll, on a or D100 roll, if it's 10 or less, you're just dead.
So, yeah, this is vomit inducing. This is making me very excited for you guys doing their DBZ game. Oh yeah, that's a 3-parter because they have 3 books specifically for each saga that they got up to.
Oh no. Am I gonna have to watch the whole anime for that review?
No, because I actually know that one like the back of my hand. Where were we?
Let's.
Special weaponry and equipment. Armor piercing. They treat any armor they affect as having one half of their physical defense.
This is for the mechs.
Bursts.
So
ECM ranks.
you can tell that they're trying to have you get into the fucking robot.
I mean, you're
Like for
fighting
instance,
giant robots, my guy.
like for here, linked. Linked weapons can be fired together in one action with one roll. Yeah, that seems powerful.
Energized melee weapons treat any armor they affect as having 20 less PD, which equals to 0.4k.
Stop it.
Boomer's ratings are listed as # infinity. The # is the number of consecutive terms they can fly, while infinity means they could skim forever. Gravity weapons. Why do you have gravity weapons when they don't do anything unique? They don't do anything unique. What's the point? I hate you.
They because they can do. I guess unlike laser weapons, they can still do stun and killing damage.
You know, if you have a gravimetric weapon, you know what you could do with it?
Oh wait, no, because you could do stun or killing.
You know what you could do to kind of highlight how unique they are? You're altering mass reality with fucking gravitrons. Shouldn't that cripple their movement speed? Here's the thing, I actually mostly like this system. I just hate the kill mechanic. I hate the 14 equals 1k. What the fuck nonsense is that? At the very least, you could have gone hexadecimal with it. I would have been fine with that.
Hmm.
Or you could use base 14. I mean that's stupid. I'd prefer not. God, I hate this.
Well, next up gets into the fun stuff.
The
Lore.
lore.
So this is the world of 2033.
So here's the thing. It is not a wonderland. It is a corporate nightmare state. Buzzing helicopters carry police who monitor crime in the streets below. Androids who were built to serve us are almost
Mhm.
indistinguishable from ourselves, even to the point of going insane periodically.
Let's see. By 2020, many cities across the world, including New York, Tokyo, London, and Berlin, were replanned as technologically integrated economic cities. Oh no.
You know, the funniest thing is the concept of smart cities is a thing that gets brought up from time to time. I don't think this is what they meant.
No. Machines are all linked in a vast telecommunications grid that spans the globe.
Oh no, you forget the best part where most of the big great powers tried to colonize space, almost went bankrupt, and then somehow Genome and other corporations managed to somehow not go bankrupt by doing this.
Because they didn't have regulations to deal with.
Maglev trains are everywhere. They're
Of
patrolled by
course they are.
private security. Inner city undesirables were pushed into cheap residential zones. New violent movements formed. They don't really clarify any of them. Oh no, it's like Shadowrun, police corporations.
I like to go in next page onto the timeline. (1990X), the European Community is born. When
Yeah.
does the EU begin? And when does it begin proper?
Superconductive rail lines replaced subways in Mega Tokyo. The first boomer was built in
Wait,
2020.
no, the European Communities began in 1973.
Yep.
Why are they making it a random variable date?
Maybe it's to represent the Neo-European Union.
Could be.
I think they just fucked up.
Let's see what happens. Um, well, the boomer incidents begin in 2027, so we got 2 years.
Experimental combat cyborg ends in failure. The events of Blade Runner occur in 2027.
Ah,
Essentially, because 4 rogue boomers escape from the space station. That's a very big nod to Blade Runner.
and 2034 is when the boomer uprising occurs. Let's see.
An attempted
Global or
attack on the underground nuclear reactor fails. I don't really think they'd use an underground nuclear reactor after, well, Fukushima Daiichi incident.
yeah. Global overview. Physically, the planet is continuing to degrade with altered coastlines due to global warming, higher particle count hovering in smog-laden air, and there's overpopulation and pollution. The U.S. and the USSR declined. The UN, with the support of Japan, the United States, and Europe, was able to help step in to keep things from exploding. The
Using
United Nations,
orbital weapons, rods from
yep,
gods.
yep. The Neo-NATO is a new international alliance formed against the growing strength of the Chinese Communist bloc.
The Polar War. They warred in the north. They warred in the Arctic for oh, in Antarctica specifically.
Japan, home to genome, highest per capita consumption of boomers, beating out the United States, I guess. Here's our cybernetics and AI systems. Nationalism is still strong in the Japanese mindset.
Reminder: this was
It-
during the 80s and 90s where we thought this was going to continue.
yeah. Um, America, while it is still an important country, lost some of its economic status to Japan. America cozied up to little island nation, shared heavily in military support. Um, remains as overarmed as ever and is fielding substantial forces in the Polar War in support of neo-NATO and the UN. It has gone through a period of social fragmentation. A faltering economy allowed the multinational corporations to move many staple U.S. industries overseas, making it difficult for the states to compete in the world market. A general sense of decline and disunity has kept the U.S. from quickly retooling and stepping back into the economic arena. Social fabric is stretched thin as racial and class issues further divide a populace. As each segment struggles to hold on to its piece of its ever-shrinking pie, corporations, politicians, and organized crime commingle. Street violence hits a new high, and public faith in any large institution hits a new low. And this was written in 1996.
I mean, the elements were already somewhat there since this is post Watergate, for example.
Yeah.
This was also around the time. It's only been a few years prior to this that Martin Luther King Day was legalized as a holiday.
Oh.
Efforts at affirmative action really begin in the 1990s as well. So that's an element that you got to bring in. And also remember, this was written in 1996. There was a very interesting candidate that ran in those
Oh
years.
yeah.
Ross Perot, the great sucking sound. This is in the aftermath of the NAFTA trade deal.
Oh yeah. Let's
So
see.
this actually makes a lot of sense, especially since they did a lot of research. And also, the people who wrote the 8-part anime aren't stupid. They've probably paid a lot of attention to the US.
Europe, Western Europe is former economic competitor. Um, Eastern Europe remains a hotbed of strife, revolutions, coups, and brushfire wars thrive in this area. So nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Uh, Russia, bolstered by our new willingness to accept
I
capitalism.
do think the European community being stable is a bit of a holdover from Pondsmith and company thinking
Yeah.
that Cyberpunk's Europe community would actually be more stable.
Uh,
When
China.
in reality, they kind of are failing to understand. This is something I've always had an issue with in Cyberpunk settings. They always kind of forget that the big problem in Europe is it's a three-way pissing match between Germany, France, and originally the UK. Now it's mostly a pissing match between France and Germany still.
Yeah.
That's something you have to factor in as an element.
Then China.
And then there's also the tensions between the richer north and the poorer south.
Yep. We got China. China's ruling party is too paranoid of capitalist systems to seek the technology to solve its food and population problems, and is instead aggressively working to gain access to raw materials it feels it needs to survive.
I find it interesting they went back to neo-Maoism.
I,
Basically,
I
in
don't
this
think at
set,
the time they did have communist reform or capitalist reforms, but I don't think it really heats up
this was in
until
the
like
after. No. This was in the 80s. This is during Deng. This is Deng's reformed capital China economy.
yeah, but when do they get into the World Trade Organization?
Not yet, but it doesn't matter because the trends by this point indicated that China was at least liberalizing its economic sector.
Yeah.
At the
And
time of
then
the anime, this was before the Tiananmen incident, and at the time of writing, this is post Tiananmen, but it's also during the Chinese opening. So what happened in this timeline is I'm going to guess the Gang of Four succeeded. Last but not least, the rest of the
the
world,
third,
because who gives a
yeah,
shit?
um, there's the Philippines, and there are African nations such as Tanzar and Zambik.
I don't know. Do you expect the Japanese to know what actual countries are down there?
I expect them to not use fake country names,
I would have thought they'd have at least used Tanzania and Mozambique, yeah.
but I would have at least spelled them right.
In fairness, Zambique is pretty close. They're just missing the MO, Mozambique.
Yeah. Oh, and then the net. It has created a pseudo-nation unto itself, populated by hackers, businessmen, and common users. It allows for near instantaneous transmission of ideas, accelerates progress astronomically, and become more accessible every year.
Also, yes, space is colonized. Low Earth
Uh,
orbit is now heavily trafficked. There's orbital transfer vehicles. The economy is up there. A bunch of weather satellites. There is also orbital weapons. There are also automated workstations and factories.
I mean, I call them peace missiles instead.
You know what actually would be an interesting game you could probably do in this setting? Okay, hear me out. The Office, but you are robots and you are trying to do your job up in the atmospheric factory up there
Hmm.
with the horrendous working conditions. Oh yeah, that is the thing. The other reason it was pretty easily he was able to predict the U.S.'s issues is again, as Squirrel Killer mentioned, it's because Pondsmith's black. There were still racial tensions in the 90s at that point.
Yeah,
Even if it was mostly dying by that time, he lived during it, so they also talk about the big businesses, which is mostly Genome at this point.
and let's see, corporate warfare.
Gulf and Bradley Corps and the Chang Group. This is borrowing heavily from like Shadowrun and
Sa-
Cyberpunk
well,
2020.
Sample Bubblegum Crisis corporations, Amarok Stockbrokers, BioEscape Corporation, the Omnico Limited. It is a video game company spreadsheets to pre-program talents for boomer behavior. Green food. It's green.
Let's see. It dried up and was in a perfect position to buy up agricultural lands. For a minute, I was trying to see if there was a nod to how like they probably reprocessed human corpse into food.
Now that's next year's product.
Also, QSA Industries is run by the Triad.
Hmm,
It's a military
that's-
industrial combine, which I think is pretty neat. Yeah, it's almost like Mike Pondsmith, who they keep canceling, actually understands the situation because he lived it. I don't know, man. They talk about some of the tech that you can work with. I love the retro futuristic energy here.
yeah.
I love how it's one big fucking chunk. It's a little terminal. Aw. Also, computers are rated in terms of their power. Power works like int. So you know those little smartphone things they mentioned? It's only a power 1, but think about it like this. This is a setting that actually has a portable computer, like a tiny portable computer. They also deal with things like wireless in this one, which again is not something you usually see in Cyberpunk because the big thing that people about is it still being wired connections. Here's how hacking works. It's always an opposed skill test. Computers use power times 2 plus a die, and hackers use int plus 1/3 of power. Oh,
No,
why?
not a. Oh
God,
no, it's
why? Why
divided by
God?
3. No, it's just power divided by 3.
No, I understand. Power divided by 3 plus hacking skill plus a die. Again, why God,
Oh wait,
why?
uh, and I do like at the end. For more detailed hacking rules, check out RTG's Cyberpunk role-playing game. Way to advertise your own product.
I also love that to stay competitive, newspapers use an online fax technology, and they essentially are personalized. They literally, it's literally they. This is actually surprisingly insightful. This is data mining for you, and your newspaper is personalized to your opinions. You receive the sections of paper you want or what they think you want.
Let's see.
Also, another pretty solid prediction that media is thousands of channels with nothing to watch. Just as gasohol has replaced gasoline as the major fuel for automobiles, so too have hydrogen burning turbines replaced gas guzzling engines. So they've gone with chemical fuel cells in this setting. I kind of like that. I kind of like that that the tech setup in this is, well, still a thing. I also like how we still haven't cracked fusion at this point. It's kind of a neat take. Like usually in cyberpunk settings, they kind of just go with nuclear. And no, in this case, they thought it through.
We got new cybernetics, which again, if you want more detailed rules, check out the Cyberpunk role-playing game.
Which hey, fair enough.
Um,
Mechas, obviously.
we've got power suits and battle suits, and then legally distinct from another product, battle movers. Larger cousins of battle suits, they are usually four-legged, although insectile six-legged and semi-humanoid two-legged types also have made. Generally faster, more heavily armored than power suits.
There is also artificial intelligence. And how does AI work? Well, boomers are technically AI. Their brains are very much like those of human and thus limited to normal intelligence. AI, on the other hand, can be more intelligent because of the scope and scale of the network. It also, what motivates it doesn't necessarily motivate you. They may have emotions, but they don't have glands, which can make them quite unpredictable. Nanotech is a thing. Oh, here we go. These are the protagonist team group, the Night
Yep.
Sabers, the Vigilantes. This is just the setting from the anime.
Yeah.
I
I
think we can.
I do like the 11 rules though. Do not divulge any information concerning the organization. Do not act upon a personal grudge. Do act without the mutual consent of all members. Wait, do act without the mutual consent of all? So do whichever you want. Uh,
Maybe.
4. Do not secede from this organization. 5. Members are personally responsible for any damage done to the organization's equipment unless the damage was unavoidable. 6. Do not divulge any information concerning your clients. 7. Do not gather information on your own. 8. Keep in contact with other members regularly. 9. The members do not know each other outside of this organization. 10. Do not get involved with a man.
But you can
But
get involved with yeah.
lesbianism, nice. 11. The penalty for violating any of these 10 regulations listed above is death.
By the way, Rule 9 is also disregarded by all of them.
Yeah.
Everyone except Celia has broken Rule 8.
Also, why do they have these rules? There's only 4 of the fuckers.
Because they're technically trying to go against Genome to a lesser degree too.
There's
Basically,
only 4 of you.
they're kind of trying to wage a war with a mega corporation.
You don't need a fucking code of conduct when it's literally just a group of friends.
I don't know if this is actually an in-lore rules system that they have, like from the anime. I never watched it. It might be, or it might have just been something that was made up for this book. I don't know.
They give us all of the characters done here.
Also, do not act upon a personal grudge. Bitch, you were founded on a personal grudge. Your father got geeked. Are you dumb? By the way, here is their character sheets.
Did they get the actual animators to make these drawings?
It might have been they might have gotten requests and were allowed to use drawn designs like character models that they had from the anime, or they were able to get their hands on it. I like it. But yeah, these are all characters from the show. And here is the tech that you got, and the multiple layers of suits, and how it works and how it loads in. I actually like that they were able to get all of this art assets to show it off. Let's see, anything else of note that I want to show off? Oh, here's what the hard suit looks like and how much they're armored. It also
Actually, the hard
shows
suit,
new models of hard suits too, because
they kind of, I feel like they kind of get a little bit of a Mega Man vibe, at least from the helmet.
there's a little bit of that. I would not be surprised if it was more inspired from the same concept. Actually, no, it's more of a Guyver or Sentai thing. Actually, I think
You're right, yeah.
reminds me more of Sentai or Kamen
Also,
Rider, I should say.
we have our Transformers.
Actually, since they ride bikes, yeah, it's more Kamen Rider.
Yeah. With the Motor Slave.
Also, different models have different armaments and armor. For example, I believe, what is it? I think it's 50 hard points equals 1k worth of armor. So it kind of shows that they're all customized for them, which I think is pretty neat.
I realized this. Uh, one of their trucks is for a lingerie company.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Also, yes, their armored suits can. They also have heavy armored suits that can transform from motorcycles. This is very much borrowed from Transformers. Transformable mechs were also big in Gundam. In particular, Zeta Gundam was well known for this.
but can they transform into animals?
Oh god, you can definitely tell this was inspired by Transformers. Holy shit. Implied encouraged lesbianism. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Japan had a lot of that. This is just kind of showing off all the neat tech that they have and how this sort of stuff would work.
Okay, were they implying? I see something called. Oh no, it's the character Mackie.
By the
So
way,
when I
yep,
saw
there's the
Mackie in
lingerie truck.
yeah, when I saw Mackie in battle suit, I thought, wait, that was the first battle mech.
I kind of like that they show you all this kit, and it also kind of helps you try to figure out how some of this works. Because there's the
And that,
armor, because there's the campaign points, and it shows you the structure. And then it also has the conversion for you because honestly, the K thing is fucking obnoxious. Anywho's, now it's Genome's turn.
what do you think would happen if Genome were to take over the world? I guess the cities would be wall-to-wall boomers. Florida. Imagine an entire city full of Florida.
Well, they also have the Overmind control system. It would control all the machines in the world, and the person controlling it would command an army of androids.
They do realize that this will just create a monopoly and will end up actually hurting their long-term profit
They don't know that.
by reducing competitiveness.
They don't understand or care. But yeah, Genome has a lot of corporate branches, and it just kind of goes into details
Oh, they
about
have
how
a
these
genome
guys
in.
work.
Oh, they got one in Chicago.
Yes, they do.
At least they didn't rename a building.
Also, you like how Genome likes its arcologies.
It does.
Also, yes, there are android duplicates of the company owner.
Like, of course they are. And then we get the boomers themselves,
They're
which they
technically
have
called
many,
cyber droids, but they're usually called boomers, which is from native Japanese from booma.
which there are many variations. The Karen, for instance, the racist uncle.
Also, if you are wondering, the reason they're called a boomer is specifically because they've gone rogue slash rampant. Essentially, their programming evolved in a way, like rapidly evolved in a way that drove them nuts.
I'm now concerned about housing prices. Ah,
Ah, I'm going insane. No, I'm just envisioning like you have a cyber droid just like stacking eggs in a supermarket. It takes a look at the prices. It looks back the next day. It looks at the price raising. It just clutches its head silently, and then groans, "Going insane!"
must not want
Must
racism.
hoard all the eggs. Then you have to stop the crazy robot that's stealing all the eggs. But yeah, the anatomy of a boomer,
Why?
it depends on the model.
Why do I like all these AI memes? I know they're fake, but they're so real.
The different types include labor. There's mannequins which resemble humans. They aren't quite perfect. There's androids which are nearly perfect. Battle models, combat units, fusion capable, which they're able to essentially absorb inorganic matter. Experimental models, and then finally second generation models, which can further and more effectively mimic humanity. Also, you can work them to insanity. They can legitimately snap. Like, just imagine you have this poor fucking thing trying to clean, I don't know, the floorways of a supermarket, and it does it for like,
I need a mojito.
just starts stabbing people with the broom.
I need a union representative. I'll contact AARP or I'll kill ya.
So here's the interesting thing about them. They are biomechanical, in that they are usually mostly mechanical, but they're also somewhat protein based, which means that their internal minds can actually look very organic. And there's beyond the norm, which means they can actually mimic humanity. Oh yeah, they can
With
explode out of the disguise, kind of like Men in Black.
Oh, I like the various weapons it has. Head laser, chest cannons. The female combat boomer.
Also, yes, they can have human disguises, which I think is pretty neat.
The boomer woman. C series.
You can also tell they were inspired a little bit by Terminator.
Oh, page 103. The sexaroid.
Oh yeah, those are a thing.
The manufacture of boomers for sex is illegal, so they are exclusive the property of the rich and powerful.
Also, they do
Because
highlight,
because you
yes, there
because
are male units.
because you know when you're rich, the only thing you want is metal pussy.
If I recall, oh yeah, they actually mentioned one of the episodes is specifically around one of them. They also use artificial blood, which means that they actually highlight one of the episode plots, which one of them essentially is trying to save their sister by draining blood like a vampire. They also have hypnotic eyes.
Oh, that's where the vampire thing would come in then. The space combat Doberman. The double-horned red and blue hyper boomer. I might just call them Oni.
More battle models. The Dobermans. You gotta love the creative designs that the anime had.
The killer doll. Shaped like a little child.
Oh yeah, that was a thing from an episode.
And the fusion boomer, which can integrate with an older one.
Jeez, look at all these. Human guises, how the fusion stuff works, which is very much based on Akira. Look at that.
Then we've got the advanced police. So you've got the normal police, otherwise known as the N police.
Oh, they
The
use
elite.
artificial blood. I wonder why the designers chose that. I mean, they're sex rights. Think about it. You gotta cater
They
to
ought
all
to,
sorts of clients.
I want to know it's a virgin.
Oh no, I was going to go with I was gonna go with the whip.
Oh. Or they're a blood fetishist.
Yep.
So when things get really bad, the N cops call them the advanced police. Licensed for limited collateral damage. They have access to heavy weapons, attack helicopters and battlesuits, and they'll come on like Godzilla his own bad self to wipe out any threat.
So yeah, there's normal police which are much more up armed than they're basically militarized American style police. And then when things get bad, they summon the guys who were formed specifically to just butcher rioters. The advanced police legitimately got their start by beating the shit out of and gunning down rioting civilians. That's their main specialty. Nowadays, though, they target rogue robots.
See, to become a cop, you must at least be a high school graduate. After 1 year basic training, you become a patrol officer.
Yeah, we're scroll. The reason I scrolled through a lot is because we're almost 2 hours in, and a lot of this is technical stuff. So we kind of have to,
Yeah.
I'd love to do a longer stream on this. It's just,
I want to highlight at least boomer law.
yeah.
So you have boomer fencing. Any purchase of a boomer of unknown ownership or origin is illegal. Owning a boomer requires you to register the boomer. And you must carry an owner's card, and they are not allowed outside their quarters without supervision. You cannot reuse a recycle boomer. You can only officially sanction a rogue boomer to kill. And boomeroids. A boomeroid has a boomer exceeding close to human. If over 70% of the criminal's body has been made cybernetic, then the individual is treated as a boomer and jurisdiction is transferred from the N police to the AD police.
Also, yes, even in death, you can still be repurposed into a robot.
They give us a bunch of different stats for
Well,
police.
they also highlight the reason boomers are an issue is their minds are a little bit unstable. It's just the nature of how they're constructed. So every now and again, they just kind of go fucking nuts. And because they're robots, they're superhuman in strength and endurance because they were built that way. Legitimately, they're made of metal. Machinery has a habit of being a lot stronger than you.
You got a bunch of different vehicles, ships, powered suits.
This is the other reason we're kind of skimming really far is because a lot of these are anime specific characters, and in a lot of cases, it's a lot of tech, which is cool to look
Yeah,
at, but
it looks like the rest of this is uh, various sort of mechs and characters that you see in this game.
it also shows kind of the equipment and gear. And again, I like this stuff. They also talk about what the headquarters floor plan layout are, which is very useful if you're going to draw this.
Also have like what Mega Tokyo is.
They also show the variety of vehicles, and because it's based on the anime, guess what Mike Pondsmith can't do? Make them look like shit. I mean, they still don't look perfect because the wheels are a bit goofy, but you know, because it's based on the anime, there's more logic to it. The troop transport is a little too small. I guess you're supposed to like stoop in it. They have helicopter trucks. I think I've actually seen something like this as an action figure once. Yeah, I
Feels like a
have.
bit
This
GI.
was an action figure once.
Feels like GI Joe-ish.
They also show what the mini copters are and the targeting helmets that they wear because they can be piloted, but I think they're supposed to be drones too. Oh no, you're supposed to be crazy enough to go into that little fucking thing. Jesus. Mike's guns and vehicles are fine. What do you mean? I don't know. I've seen some then again, Shadowrun also has some very disgustingly ugly fucking vehicles. Oh man, that police patrol chopper that you see there, that end police one, that has strong classical Gundam energy. Also Star Trek energy because of the nacelle design sort of. God, that thing is anti-aerodynamic. Actually, all of them are horrifically anti-aerodynamic. Here's more of the power suits that you can have as an officer. Again, I'd love to show this in like detail, but this is a lot of tech crunch. And while that's really cool, and there's a lot of fun lore you can do, the stream has lasted quite a while, so we kind of have to move. Here's some more weaponry.
Yeah, the rest of this appears to be
It's
more
mostly
details on the
kit.
setting and how to run the game. I
Also,
think we're
characters. There's more characters they show off too from the episodes.
yeah, I think we've got a good understanding of the game, and I would say what was most thrilling
I do want to
was
show off to see. I just want to see if there's anything else I want to. They also. Oh, here we go. Here's the equipment list, which show you the variety of personal weapons that you can get, vehicles you can get, and they also show you what their values are and what they can do, and just personal items. And then it's just Mega Tokyo in general, which includes a map of Mega Tokyo, which includes all of the major points. Which I think is pretty nice. It gives you stuff that you need to know, like Tinsel City, the ADP headquarters, Coastal Highway. It shows you all of these things, which I think is really useful to have as a reference guide. And then referencing Bubblegum Crisis includes campaigns, which I think we'll call that there.
Yeah. I would say overall very fun, seemingly playable setting. Definitely, I think if you've watched the show and you want to play in it, I would recommend it. Um, just because it seems to just have everything there. I really did like the character creation. I think the amount of detail that you can have in their backstory is impressive. Obviously, I think we took it to an extreme, but still is fun to for how wacky you can make your character. And I did like that there is variation in how well, I guess the right word, cosmic you want to make the game.
So, the character creation aspect, I think, is the most fun part of this system. I think what drags it down is it's mostly fine. There are 2 points that I think kind of ruin it from being good for me. The first is I hate the concept of killa armor. I know that K means 14 in this, but I hate that. I hate that you can get something like 1.8 armor, and then you have to actually do weird fucking reductive math for that. That's terrible. That is actually frustrating, especially since you're using D6s, which do not have a clean cleavage in terms of your damage dice. I don't like that it is not base 10. It is obnoxious in that regard. The rock paper scissors aspect that they did for what can bypass what was also pretty stupid. There's just enough clunk in the mechanics that there are issues. I will, however, say that that's kind of a thing with most Cyberpunk games. Shadowrun is really fucking kludgy and clunky to play, but once you master it, it's really fun. And Cyberpunk is smooth to play unless you're playing a netrunner. Net running is just ass. I would say, in terms of just being a hacker, this does it better than they do. It's dumb that you have to divide the power of your computer system as part of the hack. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that let's say you have a power 2, that means you get 0.67 repeating on your power aspect. Does that actually factor into succeeding? Because the defender gets the full power bonus times 2. That's ridiculous. Um, yeah, overall, I'd say this is a solid decent. There's enough issues with the mechanics that I can't really rate it higher than that. I really don't like the 14 base armor equaling a kill. I don't like that. Yeah, here's the thing, Squirrel Killer. I think that it is supposed to be on a sheet, like you have a reference guide, because it also includes conversion for your armor points, for your SP. It's just the concept of having something like 1.8k worth of armor is really stupid in terms of converting that into damage to you. I get what it was going for. I just really hate that mechanic. And they kind of try to explain how a soft target gets some ability to survive because you don't get the overblast, but then like the way they handle it is really shittily written. Yeah, all in all, it's a pretty solid system. I don't think we're going to do the Dragon Ball Z one next, just because, well, which Dragon Ball Z book do you want us to look at? There's 3 of them. Speaking of which, I should also mention that the Evangelion book. That's one of the reasons I suggested we didn't do it. Did you know the Evangelion RPG actually has 3 books?
This one did as well.
No, there's more than
Were they?
that.
Well, hold on. Who made the Evangelion one?
It was a Japanese outlet. It was purely from Japan, and it was translated as a passion project, from what I understand.
That might be just a thing with Japan then.
I will say that the way that one works is, just because I want to kind of highlight that, is let me very quickly open it. So let's see. Yeah, there's actually more Bubblegum Crisis books than just 3. It's just the easiest source to find it only has 3 of them available. There is also, for Evangelion, 3 books. And the reason that it's done this way is because book 1 is the strategy aspect of it, from what I understand. It's split into multiple sections, and this is kind of to its detriment, I think.
The
So
stra
the first
the
volume is a
wait,
combat
hold on.
strategy game.
The strategy, if I remember correctly, isn't the whole series about a whiny bitch boy trying to get into a mech and then fighting alien angels?
It is essentially a subversive take on the mecha genre at the time. Yes. It is also
What the
the
fuck's the
doomer to
combat?
Ra Zenfon's optimism. So yeah, there's the first book is a combat strategy game. The second book is the contained adventure, which is the role-playing aspect. And then there's the third book, which is a replay collection of the other 2 books as well as supplemental rules to it. I did not like, I really did not like Degenesis for doing that. So what do you think my stance on for this book is going to be? If you guess not very high, you win the prize. Because let me actually kind of, I just want to hint this. This is not, I don't know if we're going to do this one next week. We might. We might. I don't think we will. But combined, let's see, 250 pages, give her about 200 pages. Oh wow, it's actually still less than Genesis somehow. How? How?
Translation?
Maybe it's just because of how it was done, because this was kind of a passion project. What the fuck? I actually thought it would have been longer. Well, that's good to know. I have no idea what we're going to do next week, personally. Do you have any ideas? Chat? Or Impset? Do you?
Hmm. Wondering if we should do Wild West.
I don't really have a lot of Deadlands books. I never was interested in the mechanics, and then some of the statements that the creators made me lose interest.
I mean, we could just go for the it's the full Monty and do the one about the Confederacy,
We also could.
which
We really. Wait. Which one do you mean by that? Like Deadlands?
yeah,
Maybe like. I guess
where
we
we
could
can
talk about that.
where you can rip the shit on their solution for how did they get rid of slavery?
Galarian lore, you cowards. I don't know shit about Pathfinder because I don't really care. I just use it when I feel like playing a game that's slightly different from 3.5. To me, Galarian is about as important as the Kryn setting, aka I don't really acknowledge it. Although that's a bit of an insult to Galarian. I'm not offended by its existence like I am with Kryn. I fucking hate Dragonlance. I actually really hate Dragonlance. I mean, I guess we could do Deadlands. I've never really looked at the books. We could always look at the Confederacy book. I don't have that one, so
We will. I think we'll think it over.
we'll
In
have
the
to think it
meantime,
over a
we
bit.
we do have a Discord, and if you have any suggestions, please send them into the chat there.
Yeah, feel free. Have a good night.